What's up, and welcome back. I'm John Stark from MacTheMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic. And today, we're going to take a look at M3gan 2.0. She's been upgraded. Is she any better? Well, that's why you're here, is to find that out. So click like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Join my cult following on YouTube here, where, we talk about movies. Movie guy should have given that away. And other critics like to say they go into things blind, but I actually go into things blind. So challenge accepted. I now raise you, sir. So yeah, I went into M3gan 2.0 blind, like I always do, which means I watched it with audio description, which was done by Media Access Group, narrated by Inger Tudor. And I love this track. Some of my favorite audio description tracks of the year. But first, the movie. So M3gan was a huge hit when it first came out, sort of surprising people because it was a January title, which is usually a dumping ground for movies. But man, when we get a good January title, we really remember it. Like, we're like, oh my God, do you remember that thing that came out in January? Oh, geez, that was great. So once in a blue moon, there's something memorable that actually comes out of January every year, and that year was M3gan, and thus a sequel was born. Unfortunately, the sequel then got the wise idea that it could be in the middle of the summer, which is not doing great for its box office. And this is still a franchise that wants to stay PG-13 and accessible to everybody, but then like promote like an unrated cut when it goes to like home video and streaming. So make sure to check out that unrated cut. Oh God, it's probably like slightly more violent. There are a couple of scenes where somebody's about to die in probably a horrific way and they just cut away. They probably just don't cut away. It's probably what it is. I don't think it's shockingly going to be that much more than what this movie is. So, yeah, M3gan, what's she doing? What's she up to? Well, we live in the future now where her victims are now working on, the ones that have survived, I should say. The surviving members of the first movie are working on, they picked up this new guy, Christian. You have to pronounce his name like that. It's not Christian, it's Christian. Has teamed up with Allison Williams to create this sort of like anti-AI, the rules against, like, let's make sure we don't do this again. We should have, like a bit like laws and stuff that are in and around this, because she kind of got into trouble. The movie kind of shows her at the beginning bouncing around, having to defend herself in court, and then somehow being able to spiral that into like talk show appearances where she sort of is like empowering, and she writes a book. And Katie, meanwhile, has hilariously, through this whole thing, because of the lack of technology, like they're trying to slowly turn into Luddites, Katie now has like less screen time. So she talks about what it's like, what she can get accomplished when she doesn't have screen time. So she learns Aikido, and her role model becomes Steven Seagal, which is hilarious. And my favorite thing about this movie is it's so random in 2025 for Katie's role model to become Steven Seagal, and it leads to my favorite joke in the movie. Toward the end of the movie was the only time I laughed out loud of like on my own. I chuckle a couple of times, I smile some other times, I'm enjoying some other parts of it, but it got an actual out loud chuckle from me, which I wasn't expecting. Everything had to do with Steven Seagal. I just loved how this random thing was just thrown in there, and I was like, okay. So yeah, Katie knows Aikido now, and she's a badass. Which she's gonna need to be, because somebody stole the code for M3gan and created a new robot and a new threat that has to be stopped. How are they going to stop it? Well, it turns out M3gan didn't go away. She's just been like living in the cloud, floating around, watching them, and one night decides to reveal herself, and with that, like, you in danger, girl. Like, and so she protects them from FBI, and FBI shows them this warrant, and we got to take your crap. We think you invented this killer robot that we see at the top, and they have no idea what's going on. No, Allison was like, what? No, I didn't sell the code to anybody. The guy who leads the FBI task force is clearly an idiot. He's really dull. He's not bright. So Allison Williams has to then, basically they have to team up with M3gan. They have to find her a body. At first they find her this really goofy little body, so she has to like prove that she's not going to kill anybody. So they give her sort of like a starter body that isn't really much of anything. And that way she can travel around, and they can try to, there's this executive that is heavy into technology. He's got like an implant and stuff on his body. Allison Williams is working on this sort of like exosuit type thing that you can put on your body. So there's various technology that's being worked on in this movie that's probably honestly not that far away from being worked on in real life. And I'm skipping around spoilers and like deaths and jumping around. Eventually they're going to get to a point where they're going to have to give M3gan a body. It turns out M3gan has this, in sort of what doesn't make sense, but is kind of fun. It's kind of goofy, but then you go, this doesn't make any sense. So she created like a fallout shelter under their building. Like, she's managed to somehow, because she's in the cloud, she has connections to everything. So she's financed this bunker that is like under. So when the gang, which consists of Allison Williams, Katie, and then the two assistants who survived the first film, Cole, which is Brian Jordan Alvarez from English Teacher, and the other one who has significantly less screen time. Cole is used a lot. I think they knew Brian was going to have English Teacher, and they gave him more to do. So he just has more screen time. And they all end up in this bunker. They have to build M3gan a body. She wants to be taller. She actually has sort of tried to build herself a body, but, to diminishing results. And I don't know, she regains trust, and now she's fighting with the good guys. So that's what this is. I kind of get it, because she's so close to Chucky that you don't want to just do like a Child's Play 2. You don't want to just follow the model of Chucky. So, and just keep kind of doing that thing, and then being like the female equivalent of Chucky, or the AI robot equivalent of Chucky. So they went sort of a different route with this, where, M3gan really is evolving as an AI and seems to understand and comprehend things. And when she says that she'll protect Katie, she really means that. Like, she actually seems to have developed this friendship with Katie, that she actually cares what Katie thinks and wants to protect Katie. And tangentially, because she can tell that Katie doesn't want her to hurt the other people, won't hurt the other people. So she's getting better. I'd actually like to see a M3gan 3, because I think it could be more interesting, especially because they play around with there's some really fun sequences in this. I like when M3gan sort of, because I guess I have a little bit of a smart house, so she has kind of control over the house, and when the FBI raids the house, she like pops out drawers and knocks people into things, and she's hopping around from technology to technology. She seems to be far more useful when she's in the cloud, honestly, because of what she just kind of floats around. But they've figured out how to use these EMP devices, which harm both her and her sort of clone. And yeah, so is it a great movie? No, it's not. Is it kind of fun? Yeah, it's kind of fun. It's kind of I didn't love the first Megan. I liked the first Megan, and I kind of liked the sequel, but just not as much as the first movie. So the first movie didn't quite blow me up like it did seem to some other people. Some other people really loved Megan and thought she was just the bee's knees. And I was like, this is fun. Kind of felt the same about Companion this year. I was like, these are good movies in January. I don't know if these are great movies, but these are good movies. I was entertained. So Megan 2.0 is kind of that. It's just got a couple of, it takes more big swings because obviously it had a bigger budget. It needs a bigger cast. So they feel like they need to go bigger for the sequel. And some of that allows for the film to excel, in some of the sequences, and then other parts of it just kind of get washed, especially when you start trying to get into like the morality of AI and who's good and who's bad and what do we do with it and when should we use it and who's on the right side and who's on the wrong side. And it's like everybody's using technology in this movie of some kind, of some level, is reliant upon some level of, you guys are all, you know what I'm saying? Like there's not like a person in this movie who truly just does not use technology, doesn't understand it. And then that person has to pair with Megan. That would make for a far more interesting pairing, is if Megan had to end up fighting somebody who truly just did not use technology, or fighting with someone who truly did not use technology, who was like sort of like living in the woods. And then they're like, oh, I moved away from this because I couldn't deal with this. And this is against everything that I have to go through. But now she's just living with people who, it's like they're picking and choosing. They're cherry picking what kind of technology they want to use. So it's just like, somebody will look at like a neural implant and be like, well, that's too much. And then they'll go home to the technology that they're comfortable with and where they've allowed technology to go into their house. And they're working on, like she's working on this. She thinks the guy with a neural implant is too much, but then she also, this technology that she's working on, this exosuit thing, that's fine. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's just a whole bunch of people who are working on like varying levels of technology, using technology all the time, all claiming that they have like the righteous path. So it gets kind of muddled because there isn't somebody who really truly just does not use technology. I think it would have been really fun if Katie had just, after the first movie, just been like, you know what, I'm on training keto now. And she just doesn't use it anymore. She never uses a tablet. Her little AI doll thing is gone. Like that would have been great. Just show her with an actual like pet, like an actual live animal would have been way better. I think that's what the film is missing. The film is missing that because the film decides to take such a strong stance on what do we do with AI? It's here to stay. How do we live with it? But then it doesn't show anybody on either the good or bad side who has completely rejected it. It just shows people at varying stages of, it's like having a whole bunch of people who are talking about, alcohol is bad for you, but then like they're all talking about like what they consider to be like their acceptable level of alcohol, and then you look at all of them and you're like, you guys are all alcoholics, you know that, right? So they'll be like, oh, I have a beer every day, just one, but you have it every day, so 365 days out of the year you have at least a beer. And then other people are like, yeah, I save it for Fridays and I get blackout drunk on Fridays. You're like, okay, so I mean, like, it's like, so everybody still has it, you're squabbling over like when you have it, how much you have it, what kind of you have it. But everyone here still, there isn't somebody here who's just like, yeah, I'm sober. What's up? What you got? Like that doesn't exist in this movie, and that is kind of what this movie needs, because that's kind of what the movie is trying to suggest, is that we need some sort of uh either villain or somebody on the good side who is just like, you know what, I know we don't really need this. So the fact that Katie's trained herself in Aikido could have been a great opportunity for her to, and that she has this traumatic past with M3gan, would have been an excellent opportunity to go that way. Only because the whole movie is about this like preachy morality tale of what do we do with AI. I think that's what's missing. So it just becomes a whole bunch of people complaining about AI who are all using it. Uh, anyway, so yeah, it's okay. It's fun. It's not bad. I didn't hate this movie. It didn't deserve to do as poorly at the box office as it did, but I think it's one of those things that when you're not a summer movie and then you try to become a summer movie, it doesn't work out for everybody. Sometimes they move into the summer and they're like, oh, well, we just got crushed. And it's like, yeah, it's because you opened in March and you did really well for March. So just keep doing March movies, you know. I think if M3gan 2.0 had opened in January, it would have done way better. It's not the quality of the movie, it's the season. It's getting people to come out for M3gan 2.0 in the summer. And the sad thing is, maybe they thought they were going to make like $150 million at the box office by doing summer release, but they probably would have done just fine. It wouldn't have been like a huge hit, but they probably made like 50 to $65 million in January. Maybe not as much as the first movie, but still like a respectable amount for the sequel. So I love the audio description here, though. The audio description is fantastic. Like, first of all, there are a lot of like fight sequences. Some of them are violent, so it details that. But there's a mechanic that they introduce in this film, that not like a car mechanic, but like the way that the film works, where things are multiple things at the same time. And a slightly spoilery way of saying that is that, so you have M3gan, you have what is essentially a clone of M3gan that they realize has M3gan's initial code in it that will become a factor. And then they also end up using an implant on somebody, which is an electronic thing that M3gan can tap into. So there's this thing where M3gan is constantly like moving around and she is in certain things. And I thought the way that they were describing sort of like when M3gan hops into other things and like M3gan is in control, but then the other thing is in control. I thought they navigated that really well, trying to distinguish that dichotomy in this movie, because that's kind of complicated when, for example, again, I'm trying to dodge as many spoilers as possible to explain why I think this audio description track is far above average. The one when she's in the neural implant, the person she's in the implant of is unconscious, but she's not. So she's able to tap into like the movement of the body and the muscles, even though the person is not unconscious. So it's kind of the person is unconscious, but M3gan's not. Anyway, so yeah, it's a pretty great track. I really loved it. But M3gan 2.0, and again, like, I think maybe if you really loved the first M3gan, you might not like the second M3gan as much. Like if you thought, well, I like my M3gan to stay in the horror movie genre, well, this is not that, although I'm sure the unrated version has a couple of gory bits in it, because there are a couple of deaths that would be like brutal, but we cut away every single time. So this movie would have qualified as, I think the horror movie fans would have been interested if this movie had just gone R, because there are a couple of deaths that if they had not cut away would have sufficed for a lot of horror fans, just based on how the people die. So yeah, I think M3gan is an interesting franchise, and sadly, I think it's a dead franchise. I think the movie made so little of the box office that Blumhouse is not considering a third film, which is disappointing because I think there's still a franchise here. I think there's still a series here. And I think because they built out the characters and they let some live, that they still have people to work with. So there's even like a tried and true ensemble here. But if you're going to preach about AI, you almost have to have somebody who is completely on the other side of it, not just somebody who is trying to, like everyone else in the film, decide what's good and what's not. Like, like you have those screen time apps, right? That monitor the amount of screen time. And so you're like, well, 10 hours of screen time a day is a lot, so I'm going to limit it to 8. But you still have a lot of, you know what I'm saying? Like, you need somebody in this film who just comes in out of nowhere and who has no technology. And it's that's their thing. And then suddenly they have to be thrust in this world somehow, good or bad, on either side of this, in a way where they have to interact with it, deal with it, destroy it, befriend it. That's what would have made this movie interesting, because you have too many people preaching about the thing that they all use and how they shouldn't be using it. And it gets kind of wasted. So, M3gan 2.0, again, at the end of the day, I kind of said this when I reviewed something else recently it was Until Dawn, where I was like, I can't, at the end of the day, when I'm entertained by a movie, I have a really hard time giving it like rotten and being like, I didn't like this movie, bad, kill it with fire. So, because if a movie is made to entertain and I felt entertained at the end of the movie, even if I'm sitting there going over in my head about, well, that didn't work, well, they could have done that better, at the end of the movie, I was entertained by M3gan. Like, I wasn't checking my phone, like all those things that check boxes. Nowadays, not feeling like you have to check your phone is kind of a big deal in a movie, because we're so attached to them, which is one of the things they could have talked about in this movie, is the need to be around technology all the time. Like, we have this really weird desire. But yeah, I was there for the whole movie. It didn't bore me. I didn't want to do anything else. I just wanted to sit there and watch the movie. So it still has that to it. So that being said, I'm gonna give M3gan a fresh. I'm gonna give her a 6.9 out of 10. M3gan 2.0, 6.9 out of 10 on the tomato meter. So not as high as I would have given the first film, but also I don't think this is hot garbage. I just think it gets kind of messy, and probably just another pass on the script, or even just sometimes when you have somebody who works really well on a limited budget and then you suddenly go, well, we've tripled your budget. I don't know that always works. It makes it so that people feel like they have to use it. They have to find some major sequence to work it into. But I think however the first film worked, it did. So just try to recreate that magic and don't overthink it. And I think they kind of overthought this a little bit, and that's what kind of killed it. Plus dropping in the middle of the summer, in and around other movies. So anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the other side.